Okay, how about now, you guys? How about now? Can you hear me now? I see Krampus saying yay. I just need confirmation that you can hear me. Yes? Cindy C, yay. There we go. All right. Excelente. Welcome. Let's try that again. Excuse me. Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen, to a special delayed episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. You see, the thing is, when I go away somewhere and I take my laptop with me and I disconnect my whole configuration, and then when I come back, I replug it in exactly the same way that I had it plugged in before. But the gremlins are at it. We're going to blame the gremlins for today's delay. So this has been a very interesting and special week, and I'm not going to delay you too long. In fact, let's just jump right into it. Let's go ahead and get into it. It's Saturday. Let's get this show on the road here. Okay, so BDD dishes on DNC week. This was a crazy, incredible, actually, really, really incredible week. If I had to if I had to choose one word to describe the overall vibe of the week, it would be joy. Obviously, um, yeah, it was a absolutely joyful mood from start to finish, despite the fact that there were some wrinkles here and there. We'll get into those. Um, this was also considered kind of like a nerd prom. They usually reserve that term for the White House Correspondents' Dinner, but this was different because I got to meet people who are social media influencers, and I got to meet people who are in the media. So that was interesting. There were some winners and some losers, and we'll get into who won and who lost the week. Last but not least, the whole purpose, the main idea of DNC Week wasn't necessarily for influencers to slap each other on the back and, for fun dancing. The dancing was actually was kind of cool, and we'll get into the dancing too. But the purpose was to officially nominate Kamala Harris as our party's nominee for president and for her to accept that nomination. So those things did happen and they were pretty awesome. And yeah, that's pretty much what happened. So let's see. Hang on a second. Let me just add this here. All right. And before I forget, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. The like button looks like my thumbs up. Hit that, please. That does help the channel tremendously. Thank you. Thank you very much. So the DNC this year took place in Chicago, Illinois. um, and there were some very serious security considerations um, that went into this. A lot of planning. The Secret Service was involved from day one. How do I know? Because, well, I was invited to this thing, and this was a different experience, a first time ever experience, because this was the first time that social media influencers, or as they call us sometimes, digital content creators, first time we were officially invited to a Democratic National Convention as a thing, as credentialed. What does credentialed mean? Well, every day I had to go and pick up, when I say every day, I mean every single day, I had to go and pick up my security credentials, right? So let me full screen this here for you here. So this, oh, damn. Because of the blue screen, you can't really see. But this was my security badge. This is actually yellow, but it's So there it is there. It says Chicago. There's the logo for the cops. There's my picture, and there's the QR code there. And then there was some additional passes as well on a lanyard. This was a floor pass that gave me access to the floor. This was a creator pass specifically for creators. And this says Hall Press. You can see that there. I promise you, these badges look a lot look a lot nicer in public. And it was interesting because I had to like leave my hotel and go to a different hotel and stand online. In fact, the first day was a complete snafu, was completely just upside down. People ended up standing online for an hour, sometimes 2 hours, and then they didn't even have their credentials available to pick up. Um, that wasn't the case for me, but it was the case overall. By the second day, they had figured things out. They had smoothed it out, but I still had to go to a different building to get my credentials. So, Secret Service and the Chicago PD went to great lengths to ensure that if nothing else, that this event was going to be secured. Why? Primarily because they were concernicus that there were going to be protests. There were going to be heavy protests. They were expecting tens of thousands of people to show up to voice their uh, to voice their objection to United States policy as it regards Israel. Um, and I think overall, I'd say a big swing and a miss of this event was not giving a platform to pro-Palestinian people. It's very simple. Um, that was a huge mistake, in my opinion. Um, I don't know if that mistake can be rectified, nor do I know if that mistake is going to cost us in November. I just know that they should have given equal airtime to Palestinians. You gave it to the family of Israeli hostages. You should have also given it to the Palestinian delegation. There was a person from, I believe, Georgia, who could have spoken for 5 minutes. Um, I did see, protesters during my time there, but when I say I saw protesters, um, it was nowhere near what I was expecting. I was expecting to see, crowds of thousands of people, but the way the Secret Service and the Chicago Police Department had this thing broken down. Let me show you, right? This picture right here was taken from the back seat of my Uber as I was arriving on Monday morning. And as you can see there's a Secret Service with a canine, with a bomb sniffing dog, and they had my driver, they had every driver open up the hood of their car. They had to open up all four windows. They checked their gas tank and they checked their trunk. And I'm sure they checked underneath the car as well. So, I mean, this went for every single car. Um, this is a good point that let me say Cindy C is making here. I see you, Cindy C. I just want you to know I see you every single show. I don't always get to say hi to you, Cindy. I'm so sorry. But Cindy says, funny that they never show up at Mar-a-Lago when Netanyahu is visiting or any GOP rally. That is an excellent point, and that vexes me to no end because, like, you know, um, if you're giving equal time to both parties and like I understand that you are asserting pressure onto the party that is closest to your own ideals. But what happens if the Republicans, God forbid, win and you didn't make any demands of them whatsoever? It just, you make it seem like we are 100% of the equation when we're really only half of the equation. So thank you for bringing that up, Cindy C. Excuse me. So yeah, and then aside from that driving through security, boy, when we got to that's the United Center, that building in the background there. In the foreground, there's a white tent, and there were a series of white tents. I swear, like, when you go to the bank and you have to go through a maze to get to the teller. So there was that kind of constant maze. There were mazes. There were like, and I'm not exaggerating, there were maybe 8 different levels of security at 8 different checkpoints, from the first checkpoint to getting inside the United Center building. There were 8 different people checking your badges. And if you didn't have the right credentials, you got to get the hell out. It was wild. Anyway, so, oh yeah, and there were snipers on the building too, which is how it should have been at that Butler, PA thing. Anyway, the mood, as I said, was just incredible. And when I say incredible, that's not doing it any justice, really. I say, like, this was the equivalent, being there in Chicago, was the equivalent of being at a political Disney World. Because, like, everybody was, like, for the most part, I can't say 100% everybody, but 85% of the folks there were upbeat. They were hopeful. That was the mood, cheerful. Like, for instance, passing people who I didn't know from Adam on the street. I forget what night it was. It might have been Tuesday night. We exchanged chants of, do something. We didn't know each other from Adam. We're passing, do something. And it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. And then there were people galore that, it was an amazing, as I said, nerd prom. The first picture on the left there, that's my buddy Justin. And next to him with the beard is Joe Galena, a.k.a. Call to Activism. That's the fellow from Call to Activism, and his wife is right next to him. Give Call to Activism a follow if you're not already doing so. Excellent account. There in the middle, that's Lee, but many of you might know her as Politics Girl. Yes, Politics Girl. She is super duper nice in person, just as nice as anybody could possibly be. Wonderful lady. Also give her a follow. And then there on the far right is the amazingly talented Brian Tyler Cohen, and also known as BTC, Danny Dulito. Thank you for that. And Simon wants to know, says, one of the stars of the DNC was young Noah. Did you meet him? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And, like, I saw that kid completely eviscerate Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. And that kid is so smart. And, like, so when I saw him, I was like, oh my God, Noah, please. I said, I'm a huge fan. I'm a fan of this 12-year-old kid. I'm like, I'm a huge fan. Can I get a picture with you? He said, I know who you are, Brooklyn Dad. he said, I want to get a picture with you. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. That's cool, brother. Thank you for that. Hang on, I'm looking for that picture. Here we go. Where is it? This present, share screen, boom. This share. So yeah, there he is right there, Simon and folks. Very nice young man, so smart, So smart. I am like it gives me an amazing sense of hopefulness that he is our future. Hey, your boy Ken is here. Wait a minute. What? Dude, I haven't seen you in a minute. Where is your boy Ken? I don't see him. Um, stand up, your boy Ken. Step up. I don't see you, brother. All right, so let's see. Who else did I meet? Oh, I met those guys, the Bad Liars. That's on the far left here. Uh, the Bad Liars are right there. Uh, those guys, you know what they do. They interview people at Trump rallies, et cetera, et cetera. Very funny guys, very nice. Great to meet them. What's up, buddy? Glad to see you, your boy Ken. Missed you, man. I missed you. Hey, it's Alaska Cindy. I see you too. I see all of you. Bernadette H, Krampus, Zelda, of course. Always Zelda. Welcome, Zelda. Danny DeLito, the Trump Reaper, Cindy Kellner, Sandra from Paramount, California, Cindy C, Samantha Hawkins, Simon Metcalf, Maud Day, Olivia S. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Stella Baxter, Misha Oliver, Jenny Rayner. Let's see. Okay, I just banned somebody. I need my moderators to handle handle my what do you call handle my light work, guys. Okay. All right, welcome you guys. Sarah Bethke, I think it is. Is that how I pronounce it? Cindy Kellner. All right, and Diane London, of course. All right. So on the far in the middle, there's Fred Wellner. You might recognize that brother right there. And on the far right is none other than the Pod Save America guys. Yes, it is. And a big thrill I had was my sister called me up one day and she was like, "Hey, the podcast, the Pod Save America guys mentioned you on their show," and I was like, "Really?" She said, "Yeah, they said." And she sent me the clip, and it was basically one of the guys. I think it was John Lovett said it was making a comparison. He's like, it's like walking into the 92nd Street Y and seeing uh, a conversation between Rachel Maddow and Brooklyn Dad. And I was like, oh, that's very cool. Very, very cool. Um, Olivia Juliana was there. Big fan of hers too. I'm so proud of her, of what she has done. She took a moment where Matt Gaetz, that fucking asshole Matt Gaetz, tried to clown her, and she stood up with all of herself and fucking pushed him the fuck back and refused to allow him to define her. And I love that strength. I love that defiance from her. God bless you, Olivia. Huge fan of you. Right there in the middle, she's been a guest on the show several times. Wonderful people. That's Dr. Allison Gill, aka Muller. She wrote, and then there on Olivia is a Houstonian. Your boy Ken says. Then there on the far right, this was cool. That brother there, very tall. He's actually way taller than he looks in that picture. He goes by the name Hassan Piker. His handle on Twitter, I think, is Hassanabi. Hassan Piker started off as a gamer, but is a very astute, highly intelligent political commentator. Um, Oops. And he's got like millions of fans, very popular. In fact, here's how cool he is. My daughter, my daughter knows who that guy is, right? When she doesn't get excited about any of this stuff that I get into. When she heard that I met Hassan Piker, she was like, "Oh, really?" um, yeah, so I met this brother, and I was like, "You're Hassanabi, right?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Hi, good to meet you. I'm Majid, but they know me as Brooklyn Dad on Twitter." And he's like, "Oh, nice to meet you." He's like, "Wait, Brooklyn Dad Defiant?" And I was like, yeah. He was like, oh, he said, I got to get a picture with you. My followers are never going to believe this. And I thought that was very cool. Oh, and Hassan's uncle is Cenk Uygur, whom I also met. And I don't think I included his picture in this set of pictures, but I did meet him as well. Then there, of course, there on the far left, there is the lovely and wonderful Stephanie Miller. She's such a sweet person. Oh, I got the bad liars in there again. And then on the far right, we have none other than the great Officer Harry Dunn, who is holding a copy of the Littlest President book. And I also told him about uh, the upcoming Bigliest Liar, on which he is featured on the cover. So that was very cool. Political folks, I met Senator Whitehouse. I think that's Sheldon Whitehouse. There in the middle was AOC. And then on the far right, there's Julian Castro. Um, yeah, so there were people. I was meeting some people. Maud Day, thank you, my friend. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you for the kind donation. Thank you very much for joining us. Um, so yeah, I would say overall the spirit of joyfulness. Oh, Misha wants to know, when is The Bigliest Loser coming out? That's coming out in October 15th. Yeah, so the feeling of joy, hopefulness permeated the entire thing. So the roll call was something that I expected to happen on Monday. And what the roll call is, for those of you who for the uninitiated, the roll call for either the DNC or the RNC is where each state stands up and they say, the state of Oregon, for example, takes its 22 delegates and gives them to uh, Kamala Harris for president of the United States, right? And each state does that until the very end. And I was a little bit confused by this. Both California and Minnesota said, we pass. And I was like, wait, what? They pass because they wait until the very end for the state that is for the presidential nominee and the vice presidential nominee. They go last. But Georgia, Georgia did some wild shit, and they had, oh wait, they had this brother, Lil John. Lil John showed up and did his turned up for what, and the whole place like just exploded. Everybody was like, "What?" Yeah, this was insane. This was probably the most insane moment of the one of the most insane moments. Yeah, that was just crazy. It was lit, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun to be a part of that, just to be there in that room when it happened. Um, Yeah, because and then it was funny. I saw a clip where the RNC got clowned. I think it was the Lincoln Project did this. They showed they showed the RNC. And now we would like to begin the roll call of states. And it was very dry and boring. And then they flipped over to turned out for what? So that was fun. Let's see, what else do we have here? Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder performed. This was like, all right, so this thing was not a concert, but it was badass. The other side they have Hulk Hogan, right? They had Hulk Hogan showed up on the final night. That was their big, that was their big splash. I don't know if Ted Nugent showed up or oh yeah, Kid Rock also showed up. Yeah, they got Kid Rock. We have Stevie Wonder. They have Ted Nugent. We have John Legend, for crying out loud. And I don't know if my channel is going to get dinged for showing this, but um, I was on TV for a minute. If you didn't see that, I'll show it again. As soon as that song was over, people were like messaging me and saying, "Yo, Brooklyn, I saw you on TV." That was fun. Uh, the Chicks, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks, now they're just the Chicks, um, performed an amazing rendition of the national anthem. That was wonderful. And yes, that was Tara Dublin was there next to me as well. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Um, and then there were celebrities galore. I think the guy on the far left here, I think his name is Tony Goldwyn, and I believe he was the love interest on that show Scandal. I've not watched Scandal. Haven't. He was Kerry Washington's love interest, and then of course there was Anna. Oh my God, is her last name Cardenas? Anna, for crying out loud, I can't remember Anna's last name. It begins with a C. Um, and Mindy Kaling from The Office, aka Kelly, and many other things. She was there too. Keenan Thompson was there. Um, Kamala Harris showed up on Monday with the tan suit. Anna Navarro. Thank you, guys. It wasn't even a C, it was an N. Uh, Anna Navarro was there. Thank you. Um, I didn't think she was intentionally trolling them, but everybody corrected me. They're like, no, she absolutely is trolling them. Uh, that was hilarious. It was really fun. And then Monday night, the whole purpose of Monday was uh, meant to be a big thank you to Joe Biden. It's a very big deal because, yeah, President has stepped aside before, and that was Lyndon B. Johnson, but it was done in a very different spirit. And there were some hard feelings around this. You could debate and say maybe Joe had some hard feelings, but you'd be hard pressed to prove it, especially from his behavior, because his behavior has been nothing but this is my decision. I am 100% behind Kamala Harris. She has my 100% full blessing, and I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that she wins this thing in November. That's his. Joe spent his most of his life, the majority of his life, because what did he was he elected when he was 27 or 29? Um, and now he's 81. So he spent the majority of his life in public service. All he knows is how to work for America, is how to bust his ass for the American people. And this was a huge sacrifice. It's a huge sacrifice. And I appreciated that this was acknowledged. All right. It was 29. Thank you. I appreciate that it was acknowledged by uh, President Obama and President Clinton too. So it was important later on. It was important that other presidents tip their hat to and acknowledge these, because both Clinton and Obama served 2 terms. And for Joe Biden to step aside and give up the shot at, doing 2 terms, that's tremendous. It's tremendous. And all he's thinking is, you know what? I would rather not I don't want to be the one that jeopardizes a win for us. That's a hard pill to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow, especially if you have any, you know, uh, confidence, and you know he's got confidence in himself. You know he believed he could win, but he was open to changing his mind about that. So it was tremendous. And then Michelle Obama, by far, not even close, was the best speech. In my opinion, I don't care about anyone else's opinion. She had the best speech of the entire week. And I'm saying it's better than Kamala Harris's speech. No offense, future Madam President, but Michelle Obama, she put it down. She put it down. She when she started talking about uh how Donald Trump did everything to turn people against her and her husband just because they happened to be successful Black people, I stood up. I felt like I felt the spirit in my body. I stood up and I said, "Tell it." I felt that because, man, she exemplified. She didn't just say, "When they go low, we go high." She walks it. She didn't just talk it. She walks the walk, right? But but that night, she finally got to get some of that off of her chest. Now, you guys see my tweets, you see the replies I get to my tweets, the vile, vicious trolls and bots, et cetera, et cetera. Most of them I have muted. I apologize to those of you who are exposed to that, that vile stuff. Please do the same that I do and either mute or block them for your own sanity. Know that I do still see new ones pop up, and they're lazy. They're like, "Oh, you're going to sell your kids for crack?" Like, you know, for people that sit on my every word and jump to reply to my tweets, like, you trolls are not paying attention because I just celebrated 21 years clean and sober. Oh my goodness, Zelda, thank you so kindly for the kind donation. We appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for the support of our channel. So yeah, I get that kind of thing all the time, but Michelle Obama gets that times a million, and it makes me mad anytime I see like something like Big Mike trending or Michael Obama. Fucking gets me mad, and I immediately put up an appreciation post just to counteract the negativity. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. It makes me more mad when I see that than when they attack me. It's because it's uncalled for. Here's what really irritates me about the nasty abuse of not just Michelle Obama but her husband Barack Obama. Right? I've talked often about being Black in America. When I was a kid, my mom made it clear that I was going to have to work harder. I was going to have to be earlier. I was going to have to perform better just to be considered on the same level as a white person. She told me this. She said, "Don't think anybody's going to hand anything to you. Nobody's going to hand anything to you. You have to work your ass off for it. For anything you get, you have to work your ass off." So these two people, Barack and Michelle Obama, they toiled and worked their ass off and elevated themselves. Huh? President Obama, Harvard educated lawyer, president of the Law Review, for crying out loud, became a state senator and then a United States senator and then the president of the goddamn United States of America. And you, Donald Trump, have the audacity, the gall to say that he's not American. Fuck you and your gold goddamn toilet, you son of a bitch. And so Michelle Obama said what I just said, but in much more graceful terms. Misha Oliver, thank you. Thank you for the kind gift. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Uh yeah, yeah. So she said that and I felt it. I felt and it was beautiful how she said it too, because it was so gracious and so intelligent and so smart and impactful. Loved her speech. And President Obama was right. He said, I'm the only person stupid enough to follow Michelle Obama, to follow my wife. That's a hard act to follow. I wouldn't want to follow her. And you know what? Honestly, I'm a huge fan of President Obama. Period. Period. No one will ever take anything away from that. But his wasn't. He didn't even have the second best speech. Sorry to say. Sandra from Paramount, California. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton. Now, again, I'm not taking anything away from Obama. I'm a humongous, cheerleader for President Obama. But without a doubt, Bill Clinton, they used to call him like the explainer in chief, the guy who explains stuff. Do you guys know that like half of what he said in his speech wasn't even he wasn't even reading off the teleprompter. It was just off the top of his head. And the only reason I know this is because Justin was standing next to me. He like taps me on the shoulder. He's like, "Yo, Brooklyn, look." And he points at, we can see the teleprompter right, right to our right. He wasn't following that at all. He was just doing his thing. And it was kind of hard to hear him because his voice, his voice is softer right now as he's getting older. He's getting up there in the age. His voice isn't as forceful as his wife's. Hillary's got, full throated speech. But Bill Clinton said some very poignant things about Joe Biden, about Kamala Harris, about how we deal going forward, what we should do. He made sure we all remembered, despite the fact that we're all feeling joyful and motivated and hopeful and electric right now, that we can't rest on that. We cannot rest on that. And I thought that was probably the most important message of the entire DNC, the entire thing. Because, yeah, it's easy to let yourself get carried away, whisked away on a wave of euphoria from this amazing support that seems that's coming from all over the place. We have Republicans for Kamala, we have evangelicals for Kamala, white women for Kamala, black men for Kamala, everybody for Kamala. So it seems like, oh, we're winning, woo, landslide. Don't get complacent. Don't get complacent. And that was a very important message to communicate, and I'm so glad he did that. And then Tim Walz. Tim Walz. Boy, I have said this. Many other political commentators have said this. Donald Trump even said once he figured out that his vice presidential pick was a turd. Was a turd. Everybody says that the vice presidential pick is inconsequential, it's meaningless. Not so. Not so with Tim Walz. Nah. And at one point, I was. You guys will remember, I was leaning all the way towards Mark Kelly. That was the one I wanted. And then, folks, I think it might have been Bernadette and some other folks were saying like, no, don't take our senator. We need him here. And then I was like, okay. And then I looked at Tim Walz, and I liked how plain he says things. He's like that guy. And other people described him, people that know him, described him as, that guy who will help you fix your car, or push your car out of a ditch, or, he's kind to his neighbors, and Oh, here's one thing that really impressed me was that when I learned that he decided he wanted to head up like a pro LGBT group in school in 19 freaking 99. Back in 1999, America was still extremely homophobic. Extremely. That was around the time I remember when I don't remember exactly what year that what's that show? Will and Grace came on TV. It was shortly followed thereafter by Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, shows like that. And I remember thinking it feels like they are trying to push this at us. They mean, I don't know, the powers that be, you know. And I myself, I was not that enlightened back then. I wasn't. To get to that point, sometimes, some folks are lucky enough to have been born enlightened and that's an automatic, of course everybody deserves the same rights and is equal and should not be ridiculed for whatever. Everybody is not built like that. Everybody's not born like that. And I think it was President Obama in his speech who said, like, sometimes your 1998 it was, thank you, Samantha. um like President Obama says, your grandma sometimes will say something cringy, something that shows that she is not um, up to date on things that are right and wrong to say. She's not up to date on her political correctness. You got to give her grace and some time to catch up. And he said we need to extend that sometimes to our neighbors, et cetera, et cetera. I get that. Um, I myself grew up in a very, I guess, intolerant time when people were saying, gay slurs like fish breathe water, or whatever. It was no big deal. People were offended, but to themselves, not, you know what I mean? Like people were openly bigoted. And I think, if I'm being honest, yeah, I probably used some bigoted slurs back in the day before I knew better. But Tim Waltz was enlightened at an early time. And this guy, here's another one, spent 24 years of his life in military service, in doing the National Guard, Army National Guard. He's a teacher, a coach. And so his son, Gus, was bursting with pride. If that didn't get you, something's wrong with you. If you didn't feel that in your heart, oh man, I feel sorry for you. I really feel sorry for you if that shit didn't move you, right? Seeing Gus say, "That's my dad," he stood up, tears streaming down his face. He didn't care. He just, "That's my dad." Turns out that his son, Gus, is like developmentally disabled. And I'm sorry. I remember it's neuro something. I don't remember the exact term that is used to describe. He's also got ADHD and other things that, you know, give him some grace, right? Uh, it was a very emotional moment. People on the right, what is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? Ann Coulter says, talk about weird. Let's just put aside that the young man is disabled, right? Let's put that to the side. He's a kid. He's a kid who's seeing people say wonderful things about his dad, who's seeing his dad accept the nomination for the vice president of the United States. It's a huge moment. If one of my family members was there, I'd be bawling. I'd be bawling. And this ghoul, Ann Coulter, tweets, talk about weird. And a bunch of other people did the same thing too. People on the right, disgusting. You're showing who you are. You're showing that you are garbage people. Garbage. Republicans lost this week behind that. Lost, completely lost. That's some irredeemable basket of deplorable type shit. That's why Hillary was right about y'all. And then there was good point. Oops. Good point. Misha Oliver says no one was allowed to say anything negative about Barron, though. Yeah, that's right. We all held our fire on that. Absolutely. Differently abled. Thank you for the pull up, Samantha. Thank you for that. Differently able. Then JD Vance. JD Vance cannot be normal. JD Vance went to the Ron DeSantis School of Acting Normal. Did not graduate with honors. JD Vance went to a donut shop. How hard is it just to be normal? Just to go and, order some donuts. Hey, what's going on? What's your name? So he goes in there. So, how long have you worked here? Okay, good. How about you? How long have you worked here? It's good. Okay, good. Yeah, give me some of these sprinkles and whatever makes sense. The hell does that mean? Whatever makes sense. What makes sense? What makes sense is you stop acting like a weirdo in a donut shop. Weird. Tim Waltz had no difficulty acting normal. Let me see. Hang on. Tim Waltz. There we go. Give me a second here. And for some reason, I don't have the video with Weirdo, but I do have Tim Waltz.
Sorry to hold things up for you. We really came just to go to runs, and then we did a little rally up the side.
No kidding. Amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm such a big fan. I'm from here, right here. I went to school.
Did you really?
Yes.
It's us. So I'm West Point and then downtown.
Right, yeah.
You went Shannon State.
Was there a run to West Point?
No.
There's now.
Is that really?
Yes.
Nice to meet you all. Sorry to disrupt your day.
No, it was great.
In case that we were not going to Nebraska without stopping and getting runs.
No, and we're even taking some home, right?
Taking some back with us.
We're taking some, I think the order's under Zach.
You know what the largest new lines I got today was when I talked about, but I think for somebody who doesn't know what a runs is, they call it a hot pocket, which is an insult to all life. And then the best two things together are chili and
This is awesome.
Yeah. So what's your favorite runs? You have a whole bunch of people who haven't had runs.
Oh, that rally.
Oh,
I don't know. I got that idea. That's my favorite one.
how about the Swiss and Russian?
Yeah, that's awesome. The Italian ones,
You do.
Thanks, I'm getting runs at Hank.
No worries.
Let's grab some runs.
See, this is part of the reason why it was such a brilliant. Wait, can you guys see me there? Let's go back to that. Okay, it's part of the reason why it was such a brilliant pick. Why am I all blurry? For crying out loud. Let's see. Can we fix that? No. This is one of the reasons why it was such a brilliant idea to pick Tim Waltz, because that brother is just, he's normal. He knows how to talk to people. What the hell is wrong with my tech today? Everything there we go. Uh he knows how to talk to people. He used to be a coach. One of my favorite things about this week was not so much that I was on TV a bunch. Here's another clip. I was on TV.
We've got a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. And that includes.
It wasn't just being on TV. The other thing that I loved about this week was the conversations that I had with just regular folks. A lot of my conversations, when I say conversations, I mean to say non-political conversations. It's an important qualifier. A lot of them were with Uber drivers. I think my all-time favorite conversation was with a 40-year-old fireman in Chicago. He was sitting down. It was almost noon. It's like 11:30 in the morning. He was sitting down eating a buffalo chicken sandwich. I was having a regular chicken sandwich, and we just talked about. At first, we talked about our sandwiches, then we talked about what hour he gets up. He gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning and does his workout, and we talked about how he planned his family. We talked about kids. We talked about how we were raised. How we were raised differently back in the day than kids are raised now. And what was interesting about our conversation was not once did I ask the man, "Are you a Democrat or are you Republican?" Not once did I ask him, who is he voting for? None of that shit was mattered. It wasn't relevant. What mattered was those areas where we connected, those areas where we overlap. Sometimes that'll be sports, sometimes that'll be movies, but at some point, as I think it was, again, it might have been Obama who said, at some point we have to get back to living together, figuring out how to live together. So many people have lost relationships, friendships, family relationships, your uncle or your cousin or whatever, uh, just because of Trumpism, because of the heightened, politicization or polarization. Another conversation I had was with an Uber driver. It was a lady, and she was Mexican, naturalized. She became a citizen here. She was so proud of her citizenship too. Said the test was relatively easy. She said she unsolicited, she told me straight up she's Democratic. She also said her husband is a Trump supporter. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, oh my goodness, that that must make for some awkward conversations, huh? You are Democratic and your husband is a Trump supporter. I said, have you given up trying to convince him? She says, no. She drops little jokes on him all the time. She nudges him here about Kamala Harris, and she points out to him. She said that he's racist. It's wild. She said he's racist, but his skin complexion is about mine, right? And she said, one of the things she tells him, like, one of the things she fell in love with about him was his complexion. She loves how he looks, and she's like, you're not white. Why are you siding with people who are going to put people who look like us away? people who are going to round us up and send us out of the country. She won't be rounded up because she is a citizen, but other people who look like them and sound like them, you know. So that was interesting. It was just like it was nice talking to different people, not just about politics, but just about life, life and just getting along, paying the bills and taking care of your kids or your parents if your parents are of age. I talked to one guy yesterday. He's 89 years old, driving an Uber. 89 years old and spry as ever. I swear I honestly thought he was like 70 tops. He's 89. Lost his wife to COVID. He said he almost died of COVID himself. And is originally from Wyoming, where he said in September they get snow that's like 18 to 24 inches. We didn't talk about politics once. I learned about fly fishing from the guy. So at some point, it is possible. I know it's possible for us to get back to a point where, yeah, we can be human to each other, But first things first, we have to do something about the goddamn Trumpism and the fact that they want to take rights away from our neighbors and our family and our friends and other people here. So that's what Kamala Harris, that's her mission. And she's the right person for the job. She's absolutely the right person to prosecute the case against Donald Trump. And I think she did an excellent job in her speech on Thursday evening. I was already convinced. But she gave an excellent speech. And the rest of the conference felt that way. I did talk to a few people who were, again, I'll say, who were disappointed. They thought it was a lost opportunity that throughout the whole 4 days, we didn't have one person speaking on behalf of the Palestinians. And yeah, that kind of that sucks. But Kamala Harris, she's very good. She's very, very good. And we saw, from a series of testimonials from whether it was her sister or people who have worked with her, that she is the right person for this job. Scott S. And the election deniers that are already in place in 6 swing states already challenging election results. Hashtag fixed is Trumpism. That's a great point there. That, Scott, has me nervous as hell. Absolutely nervous. I've already seen multiple news commentators talking about that. I can only assume that Mark Elias is on the case, and he's, gathering a team to challenge their challenge of election results. It's crazy that not a single vote has been cast yet, and they're already questioning the results. Like, what? I've seen Donald Trump say over and over, we don't need votes, is what he has said repeatedly. We don't need votes, he says. He says, we need to make sure the Democrats don't cheat. What? The only thing that we learned from this last election is that Trumpers were cheating. The majority of the cases that came out with election fraud or whatever, that was Republicans doing that stuff. Oh, Krampus wants to know, why is Mark Elias the only one on the case? I'm sure he's not the only one on the case, but he is, Krampus, he is the guy. Like, he's got he's the Aaron Judge. Aaron, I'm sorry, Aaron, he's a Yankee. He is the Aaron. He is the Michael Jordan. No, he is the Steph Curry. Whatever sports analogy I can. He is the Simone Biles of election law. Simone Biles. That's nobody beats that, right? The big the big disappointment of the final night was there was a rumor going around that Beyonce might show up. I believed that. I believed it because, Freedom is Kamala Harris's theme song, explicitly approved permission from Beyonce. And I thought, well, of course, Beyonce showed up. Didn't she show up for President Obama in one of these elections? I'm sure of it. She showed up. Why wouldn't she show up for the DNC? But clearly that was not in the cards. And then other folks were saying Taylor Swift. Now I knew that was a long shot, but I find like I'm vacillating between cynical and optimistic, right? But right, around now I'm like more optimistic than ever. So you can slip that one past my cynicism guard, and I was like, maybe there's a possibility. So yeah, people were kind of disappointed, but we didn't need Beyonce to show up because we had Kamala Harris. It's that simple. Like, honestly, we didn't need any of those celebrities really to show up. I've said this before and I'll say it again, right? I don't need to go to a rally. I don't need to go to a rally. I don't need to see a debate. Straight up. The debate that's coming up, it's important because the media says it's important. But for me, it's not important. I don't give a shit. I know that Donald Trump cannot be our next president. He cannot be given. Here was the other thing that Michelle Obama that said. She was like, nowhere else can somebody constantly fail in the clutch against a major disease and with the economy, and then get a second chance at that. None of us would get a second chance like that. She said something. It was generational. Wish I had written that down. It was great. It was great comment, basically, that people complain about DEI hires, right? And DEI has become like a slur, right? It's become like an insult. DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And all it means is that it's leveling the playing field. That previously, when candidates of color would not be considered for certain positions just because. Now they're considered. Doesn't mean that they're candidates of color who are not qualified. They're qualified up the wazoo. It's not like, you got somebody who, a black man who wants to be a pilot for an airline, never flown a plane in his life. That's not going to happen. In fact, as I stated earlier, we are taught at an early age, you got to step up your game if you want to achieve something in this life. You have to be better. But Donald Trump doesn't have to follow that same. Donald Trump fell into millions. His father gave him millions of dollars. He didn't have to be great. He just had to be born Donald Trump. That's it. He's an idiot when it comes to finance. His financial plans are abysmal. Most economists say that if he were to go through with his plan for tariffs, that would throw America into a recession. Right now, he's just a buffoon. Oh, thank you, Simon. Thank you, Simon. The affirmative action of generational wealth. God damn. Beautiful. 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 Thank you for that. Um, so, yeah, I don't need any rallies or marches or debates to elect Kamala Harris. I know she's a quality candidate. And the main thing that was working against Joe Biden was his age. Since he's withdrawn, some of the things that he was getting low marks on, like the economy, for instance, he was getting low marks on the economy despite being head and shoulders better than Donald Trump. He was getting low marks on that. Some of those things now, Kamala Harris is getting high marks on. Make that make sense. He was being discriminated against because of his age. Nothing he did mattered because of his age. His age overshadowed everything. It overshadowed the fact that his infrastructure plan, wait, was it the infrastructure plan or the Inflation Reduction? Excuse me. The Inflation Reduction Act included 200 plus, almost $300 million of investment in climate change, the biggest investment in climate change in history. All the things that he's done to cap the cost of insulin and inhalers at $35 per month. Not getting credit for those things. Not getting credit for bringing manufacturing back to America. Like blowing Donald Trump out of the water. Everything Donald Trump did, Joe Biden did better. And Joe wasn't getting credit for it, but now Kamala is because she's not old. Ageism is a thing. It absolutely is a thing. And I pray those of you who are, age-wise in my neck of the hoods don't experience that sort of thing, but I've experienced it. I have experienced ageism. Yeah, it's a goddamn shame. Hi, Meredith Powell. I see you there. So, one other thing that was important for me to accomplish. You said I'm blurry? Yeah. Okay. There's nothing I can do about the blurry thing. But there was one other thing I wanted to accomplish, and that was to get copies of my book and the pages from the new book into the hands of some people. So I had a copy of some of the new pages for Stephanie Miller. I got a copy to the Pod Save America guys. And I've distributed copies elsewhere, where I hope it will do some good. But I did want to show you guys an update on some of the other pages that you have not yet seen. So this is the rally page. And in case you can't read it, here's the text. I will read it to you. Democrats were saddened by Mo Ryden's withdrawal from the race, but they were thrilled that he passed the torch to his capable vice president, Kamala Harris. If elected, she would be the first woman president in history. And then, in short fashion, she selected her VP, Jim Balls, a straight-talking governor from Minnesota. And suddenly, the Democratic Party and the country at large were electrified by this joyful new movement. Your balls, yes. Balls. Balls to the walls. And if you can look, I don't know if you can see from here, but I have some signs there that say, when we fight, we win. Forward is there right over Jim Balls' head. Codify Row is in there. Freedom is in there. So yeah, I've got some. Here's the important part. Not just that I have some signs there, but it's important to note that I've got the actual candidates there, because if you may or may not remember from The Littlest President, I didn't know. I published that book like 6 or 7 months before the election. Wait, what was it? March, 8 months before the election, right? I didn't know who our nominee was going to be. So I said, candidate somebody blue. But now I know. And so it's pretty current. It's up to the date. It's up to date as far as that's concerned. Please donate one of each book. The Trump Reaper is asking me to donate one of each book to the Michelle Obama Library. I will do so. I'm just going to ask you to do me a favor, Trump Reaper, and remind me when that book is out. Okay? That's an excellent idea. Thank you for that. And here's the next page. The next page that I have, it's not the next page in the book, but I had a page that was similar to this in The Littlest President. And on election night, the state election results came in. Oh, I got to change this text here. That's old text. It says, candidate blue kept winning states and Spanky was worried, very worried. The results kept coming in. And then the news stations announced that the Littlest President had just lost in the biggest landslide in history. The people had spoken. Spanky was a loser. And then at the top there, I have Kamala Harris winning 88,476,013 popular votes to Spanky's 68 million. So she's blowing him out of the water by 20 million popular votes. That's my prediction. I don't know that exact number. It's not going to happen. Boy, if that happens, I'll buy a lottery ticket there. And then I have some other. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have some other pages here. I don't know if you can see my sketches here. This is a page that discusses COVID. Let me see if I can bring the text up here. Hang on a sec. Okay, so this page says, in the beginning of 2020, right after he was impeached, America learned that a big threat was coming. It was a virus called COVID-19. Spanky knew it was coming. He knew it was a threat, but he said it was like the flu. Spanky was a terrible president. And I don't know if you can see there on the right of there we go. On the right of the page, standing next to the easel, that's Dr. Fauci. On the far left, that's Dr. Birx. Standing on the Resolute desk is Spanky with his fingers in his ear. And in the window behind him, there are COVID molecules laughing ominously back there. So that's my sketch for the next page. And now I am blurry again. Let's see if that helps. Okay. Here's the next page here. Let's see. Now that I've got. So this is a page. This is the very next page in the book. And it says, but soon everyone saw this was serious. Wait, I can't see where. Soon everyone saw this was serious. The sports teams shut down. Restaurants shut down. Businesses everywhere shut down. but Spanky refused to tell the country to shut down to slow the spread of the disease. Spanky was really irresponsible. So at the bottom of this page here, you can see Spanky. There's a meme that shows Donald Trump driving one of those little red and yellow plastic cars. So that's that's what is meant to be happening on that page here. This next one here. This is a combination rally and golf tournament, right? Okay. So let me just get my text up here. While the disease was busy spreading, Spanky was busy. He was busy golfing. He was busy having rallies. He was busy raising money for the election. He was busy telling people that disinfectant would be the way to deal with the virus. The only thing Spanky was not busy doing was telling Americans the truth about COVID. And so in the picture up here, these are rally goers. This will be a lot more filled out. And there's like MAGA signs and stuff like that. Next to my finger here is a picture of 3 bottles of bleach, and there's a golf flag, and it says MAGA on there. And the last page I'm going to show you guys today is the next one here. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. There are a bunch of caskets on top of each other, and they say RIP on them so that you know they're caskets. And there's Spanky smiling, standing on top of a casket that also says RIP. And let me read to you what that text says for that page. As the numbers of COVID cases rose, Spanky told them to slow the testing down. He was afraid numbers would make him look bad. He said, you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero. But 15 became 1,500, and then 15,000, and then 150,000. Spanky was bad at math. So let's see. Danny says that smile is staged. So, okay, that's all I can show you for right now, right? But I wanted to give you guys an update, show you how the book is progressing. I thought it was important to mention, because in the first book, as I said, when I published it, COVID hadn't really gotten a good hold onto America yet. It was March 20th. So I think at the time, maybe we had, 30 people died from COVID. I think it's important to revisit his massive failure dealing with COVID. We lost 1 million people from COVID, and the number could have been far, far less had he done his job like a regular president, like a regular human being. What was that guy's name? Bob Woodward had him on camera, and he said, I always wanted to play it down. Always wanted to play it down. He played it down and people died. So yeah, important to cover that. I'm also covering January 6th, and it's going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal. Like, this is meant to be a humorous book, and there's going to be some humorous things in it, but a lot of things I cover, they're dead serious, and there's nothing in here that's fake. There's nothing. I'm not making anything up in this book, just like the Littlest President. These are facts, just kind of presented in a children's book manner. That's it. So, guys, thank you so much for letting me share these share these sketches and these pages with you. Thank you for the kind words there. Trump Reaper says she wishes she could draw as well as me. Those are very, very rough sketches. The guy who deserves the credit for his sketching skill is John Kelly. John Kelly is the artist who brings this thing to life. My sketches are basically for conceptualizing. Come on. I don't know why my camera's acting stupid today. Okay. It's one of those days. It's one of those days. Come on. Come on. Pick up my face here. Camera. All right. I'm not going to sweat it. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for another episode of Now It's Back. Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Okay, so I think it's I think I'm crisp again, right? So I look forward to seeing you guys this next coming week here. I'll see you regular time, same place, Friday, at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Same place. I love you all. Peace.